activities that were there in India. Now, when we talk about the revolutionary activities, let's just understand this. During the closing years of 19th century AD, that means from the 1880s, okay, 1870s, 1880s, new ideas and inspirations, they started emerging among the younger generation of nationalists. These ideas were strikingly different from that of Congress that was leading mainstream struggles, that means political struggles. This new form of struggle is known as revolutionary extremism. There were various leaders like Veer Damodar Savarkar, Barendra Kumar Ghosh, Vanchi Iyer, Chandrasekhar Azad, Ashfaqullah Khan, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru, Rajendra Lahiri, Lala Hardayal, Shyamji Krishna Verma, Madam Bhikaji Kama, Madan Lal Dhingra. Okay, so all of these personalities, they were who? They were revolutionaries. Now here what we are saying is that they came into the limelight from the time period of 1880s. But this does not signify that they emerged here, but they emerged in the earlier time period itself. However, in the later on time, there were many people who came under the grip of revolutionary extremism. That is why it became a very much major activity. Now, when we are talking about the rise of revolutionary extremism, so what can we understand here? We can understand that, as I've already explained, the 1909 time period. So at that point of time, the revolutionary extremism, it is going to expand at a very rapid pace. And the reason for that expansion is that the people, they were not given the avenues of silent protest, of peaceful protest as well. So that is why it was a byproduct. The strengthening of revolutionary activity, it was kind of a byproduct of the decline phase of the particular Swadeshi and boycott movement. So it was a decline phase of the Swadeshi and boycott movement. That is what we can understand. All right. So it was a decline phase. Now I have already explained this to you in the reasons for emergence. That why did at that point of time those particular people, the younger revolutionaries, they adopted to revolutionary activities. The reason for that particular thing to happen is that the younger elements, now they were not ready to retreat after the decline of the open phase of Swadeshi and boycott. They were not ready to do that. Okay, they were not ready to do that. Moreover, there was high government repression and no peaceful avenues for protest. I have explained this in the previous sessions. And also there was a leadership failure because many of the extremist leaders, okay, they were there in the jail. So these particular youngsters, now whatever they were doing, there was no particular leader in order to tap into the energies of these particular revolutionary youngsters. Now what I want to tell you is that here, the particular extremist means after the extremist going to jail, the revolutionary people, they are going to rise up. But the question is that did the extremist leaders at that point of time promote the idea of revolutionary activities? They directly did not promote it. They indirectly, means whatever speeches they gave. So it was on the interpretation of the people that what activities they are going to do. So the extremists, they never projected on doing violent activities, but whatever speeches they gave, some of the individuals, they are going to grasp it in the form of violent activities, and that is how they are going to switch towards revolutionary activities. So that is why after the decline of Swadeshi and boycott open phase, so there is going to be the rise of the revolutionary activities. Okay, and what was their ideology? They were based on the individual heroic activity, and they were at that point of time influenced from the Russian activist, okay, the Russian revolutionary people. In the previous session I've already explained this. They wanted to assassinate the unpopular officials, and they also intended to inspire the people by appealing to their patriotism to expel the British from India. They also wanted to strike fears within the hearts of the particular the traitors. They also wanted to strike fear in the hearts of the particular traitors. Now that was the idea. Okay, this was the aspect of the rise of revolutionary people during the time period of 1909. But as I've already mentioned to you that the revolutionary, they aren't actually going to arise in the 1909, but they had been there since long period of time. So when we talk over the revolutionary people, that what were the main causes or the factors for their rise in the Indian subcontinent, so there are going to be multiple factors for their rise. Now this is a generalistic understanding that over the span of 50 years or 70 years, what were the factors for the continuous rise of the revolutionary people. So when we talk on those factors, so what can we understand here is that the revolutionary extremism, it was a response and reaction to the circumstances created by the colonial character. That means the Britishers, they are going to be anti-people, anti-Indian, they were unethical, they were oppressive. So that is the reason that they are going to rise, the revolutionary extremistic people, the revolutionary people. So whatever up till now we have discussed, you just need to correlate that why will the revolutionary people actually rise? Because it was the failure of the Britishers to lead India to development. It was the failure of the moderates and extremists to get their demands fulfilled. It was the Britishers' oppressive character in the polity, economy, society that led to their rise. It was the Britishers, reducing reducing the avenues for political criticism. So that is why they adopted that. Moreover, at that point of time in the 20th centuries, starting of 20th century, the particular India was in contact with the rest of the world, because India means there was an informational, information transportation was there. That means that whatever activities happened in Europe, though the information of those activities, it came towards India, and whatever activities they happened in India, the information of those activities went towards Europe. So the people of India, they also got the information from the European areas, that even in Europe, when the particular Britishers were unable to get the things that they wished for, the Britishers also used force in order to get those things achieved. Moreover, in the other parts of Europe also, when when the normal people, they wanted to do something in opposite to the government, and the government had stopped all the avenues, at that point of time those particular people, they adopted to violent activities. So here what happened is, because of the communication also, these people, they got the information, or that even they could adopt to certain mechanisms that could maybe lead to their demands being achieved fast. So here this was the generalistic level. This is how you need to just correlate. Even in the means examination, if they ask questions to you, so you do not need to rote learn things. However, the content that I'm providing, it is already ready-made means content, which you can apply it there, which you can directly copy paste. Okay, I always give this blanket statement that you can just copy paste things from the notes that I am providing. However, what I generally focus upon is on the conceptual understanding, that how even with limited content you can write a beautiful answer. So up till now, whatever you have learned in Indian nationalism, moderate, extremist, that similar content, okay, a bit of reformed, a bit of aligned towards the revolutionary aspect, can also be written here also. There need not be any different content from that. No. Okay, so that is going to be there. All right. So this was the scenario. Now, next, when we talk on this particular aspect, so what is going to be the next point is that revolutionary people, they were an alternative to the moderates who had lost relevance by 1905, and also an alternative to the extremists who had lost relevance by the time period of 1911, because both the moderates and the extremists, they failed to fulfill their demands. That was their shortcoming. So failure of the mainstream nationalists to build sufficient pressure on British Raj to fulfill their demands, that led to the rise of nationalism, which we have already understood. Moreover, there were less avenues left for peaceful protest, which again we had understood, because the policy of repression and suppression formed the younger, means forced the younger people to pick up arms. Moreover, they were inspired from the Irish and the Russian revolutionaries, who had adopted a path of violence, as they now believed that it would take a loud voice to make the deaf hear. Because what the people of India were now witnessing was that In spite of all the things that were adopted to make the Britishers fulfill our demands, the Britishers, they were just putting a deaf ear in front of us. So now these revolutionaries, they had understood that you need to, if you want to get them to accept your demands, you will have to burst a bomb near their ears, so that the deaf can hear. And that particular bomb is the path of violence. And here also, these particular revolutionaries, they were also inspired from the British also, because even the British people, whenever they had to get something done, they also used the hammer of violence. Even the Britishers, to get their demands fulfilled, they did use the violence. So the people here in India, they also thought that if the Britishers can use the hammer of violence, why can't we to get our demands fulfilled? So, from the Irish and the Russian revolutionaries, they understood this point. Moreover, they believed that the Western bondage of British Raj could be shattered by the Western hammer of violence. Like the Britishers,